San Antonio, Texas. Hello, everybody. I'm going to let some people get in here before we begin. Our very first episode of our very first season of our very first podcast, titled the Visioneer podcast. So I'm super excited. I also do clear my throat a lot. What's up from Manhattan? Love it. Never been, but I hear great things. I hear the both ends of it. Great place to visit, terrible place to live. Great place to live, and great place to visit. Yeah, I've heard great things. It definitely our little humble town here in San Antonio. We have a few buildings, if you want to call them high rises, but for sure. I think I'm gonna get right into it. I did say 5 o'clock. We're like at 5:04, 5:05, so we'll let some people come in here. So I definitely want to thank everybody that has joined for joining, and I want to get into it. Eventually, we will move into more of a traditional look to our podcast, or maybe something even unique. The purpose of this podcast is to highlight different creatives and innovators around San Antonio, and to let them share a little bit about what they're doing in their journey, but also what they're doing to help and elevate the city. So let's just go ahead and let's get into this. So I definitely want to give a shout out to everybody who's kind of helped me put some ideas together, but also who's given me the encouragement to just, just do it. And so that's what we're doing. We just did it. So hello, creatives. Welcome to the Visioneer podcast, the podcast where we unravel the stories of the city's ingenious minds and explore innovative ways to connect, collaborate, and propel San Antonio into a new era of creativity. I'm your host, Gabriel Garcia, and today we're diving deep into the heartbeat of our creative community, and we have a guest, and I'm going to bring him on right now. Go live, and I'm going to do it, if it works. Anyway, our guest today is Drew Reinartz. What's up, Drew?
What's good, bro? How's it going?
Oh, it is going. Thank you for being my very first guest on the Visioneer podcast. I believe you are a Visioneer. And for those of you that don't know what a Visioneer, so there's something that we do here at my agency, plus at SC Creatives, is we like to call ourselves creatives, yes, but a Visioneer is somebody who actually propels things forward. And so we have a quote on the wall that says, "A creative moves things around, but a Visioneer moves things forward." Now they're both needed from each other, but there's just different roles when it comes to creativity and then actually casting vision and making that vision come to life. And so that's why we call this the Visioneer podcast, because we want to speak to those that are creatives, but also those that are visioneers and moving things forward and doing awesome things for themselves, but also for the city. And so that's why we had this guy on to be our first guest. So Drew, okay, definitely this is going to be super informal, but I do want to get some things across. I want people to know who you are, what you do, and things like that. So let's hear your introduction and your pitch on what you do.
Hey, man. Hey, honestly, first off, I want to say thank you so much for letting me have the opportunity to be on as a first guest. This is amazing, and I know that you've been talking about doing this for almost 2 years. And sometimes it just, the one thing that we definitely as creatives are always just, or visionaries or visionaries in the sense of this, like we always put ourselves last and everybody first, because the thing is that we always want to cast everybody else's vision. So that way everybody else is happy. And I feel like that's a thing out of love for everybody, because, we want to be used and utilized in that sense. Yeah. And that's just the beautiful thing about this. in the sense that you're finally starting, you're finally going, and you're doing it. So thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to be here, and to spread a message. Hopefully somebody is impacted by this and wants to start, on their path of being a creative, or starting their podcast, or starting lives like this. And but you set the tone for many creatives, not just San Antonio, but as we saw in New York. So, man, I can't thank you enough for letting me be here, and thank you enough for what you're doing in the community and all those that are touched by you. So I appreciate it, man.
I really do. I appreciate it.
Of course. Yeah. So to answer your question, hi guys, I'm Drew. I'm Drew. I'm born and raised in San Antonio. I started off as for monies, I started off as a singer, dancer, actor. And then shortly after 20 years of that, I retired. And now I do film, photography as a creative. I have an agency with my business partner, Bryce, with Cadre Concepts. We're based out of San Antonio, Austin area. And we also do photography, film, website development, stuff like that, which, it's always growing in a sense of like, oh, we do photos. Oh, we do marketing. We do, anything that has to apparently do with digital aspects and AI now, we are apparently involved in. So it's always fun and I'm sure some of these questions are going to dive into, the moving forward as creatives and what we have to learn and adjust to. But that's where we currently are now, as far as, a creative or, as artists, and just, in this sense. So yeah, man, a little bit about me.
Very nice. Very nice. Yeah, I think, I'm trying to think when we actually met, what capacity it was in, but I believe it was at Geekdom, possibly. And I had seen your work. I guess most photographers here in town, especially photographers, we stalk each other like crazy. And sometimes it's not on purpose. Sometimes it's just like, it just comes on our feed, or somebody's like, dude, check this photo out. And then you start figuring out, you want to figure out who this person is, who took this photo. And then you start to recognize your work on your feed. You're like, oh, that's Drew, that's whoever. And I remember seeing you, I think you were doing some stuff with the down market. And I know that at the time, this was before COVID, I believe. We were all together all the time. And so I had been following down market and stuff they were doing. And I always saw this bearded dude. And I'm like, who's this guy? Like, he's everywhere and he looks fun to be around. I think you were doing like jumping around in some of like the promo videos, and you had a camera. I'm like, oh, so that's who's taking these photographs. Okay. I respect that. And I remember I just started following on social, and then of course we just crossed paths here at Geekdom. And then, we've had the pleasure to work on a few projects together and things like that. And it's cool. It is cool to see, I guess, some of the ways that, a lot of people do start off as a photographer, and we just kind of start growing to other things, and we realize that we actually can do more things than photography. It's just trying to explain to other people that we actually do more than photography sometimes becomes a little bit difficult. But for sure, on this podcast, I do want to highlight, local artists, people that are doing things here, people that are innovative, but also people that are just trying to figure it out too. Because I think that, creatives here, anybody really, but mainly creatives, they need to hear from those creatives that are like, I don't know, I'm trying to figure it out. I'm still trying to figure out what my style is, what my editing style is, even if do I want to do just photography or video, and I think those people need to be heard as well. But I think that something that's really important that comes with that is collaboration. Now, that word has been thrown around, I think, more than most words, more than I'm a creative lately, because it's I think this is what's happened. So the word collaboration obviously is to work together with somebody on something. And before, that was kind of like a taboo thing in the creative world. And I say before, I mean, like, when I first started was like about 12 years ago now. You didn't collaborate with a lot of photographers or anybody else in that fact, because it's like, you're not my collaborator, you're my competition. And some of the mentors that I try to have, and I say try because they were very limited on what they wanted to tell me, and because it was like, no, like we cornered the market. The market is ours, and we don't want a bunch of these young guys. And what was happening was they actually saw that some of the work that the younger people were coming out was better than theirs, and that's because they were a little stagnant or whatever, right? It just became a true business to them, and they kind of lost some of the passion, which happens to everybody, I think, at one point.
Yeah.
And I didn't have that, and so what happened was those pillars became pillars that no one wanted to mess with. Yeah. And before you know it, people are like, oh, wait a second. If we actually collaborate and help each other, we both can grow. And, you know, the true test was time.
Yeah.
And so over the past, like, 12 years, I've seen that collaboration works. Now, I've also seen where it doesn't work. And that's because it depends on who and why you're collaborating. And there's good mixes and there's bad mixes. But I think if you play your cards right, collaboration can really work. So could you give me an example of, I guess, some collaborations that you've done in the past or recently that have worked and that have been really good for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, collaboration. So I love that word, but also I don't. Just because, you know, it can be, in some ways, it can be taken the wrong way in a sense of how the delivery of collaboration can be, right? Especially when you say, quote unquote, as competitors back in the day or young competitors now, in the sense of everyone's trying to eat, right? Yeah. And I'll get to kind of where I stand as far as collaboration, but as far as collaborations that I've done in the past, I mean, you were a part of one of the coolest ones that I got the opportunity to be a part of with Down Market and, you know, doing SA launch. So that was amazing collaboration in a sense of, you know, utilizing a space, given props, given the opportunity to showcase like what it may be to, you know, work in this facility and have just full creative, you know, just everything that you possibly could need to make it work in this space. And it was great to, you know, utilize the people within the city who are forerunners of, you know, creating businesses, not just in media, but also people who are in tech. And so that was, I mean, also people who were politicians and stuff like that. So that was an amazing opportunity and collaboration to be able to, you know, showcase what, you know, some of these things that are doing and innovations within the city itself. There's several other ones that I've done that one of my favorite ones recently was Ferrari. My business partner and I got to go out to Austin and collaborate with Ferrari.
That was amazing.
Hey man, thanks.
Yeah.
It was amazing to, I mean, obviously like dream car kind of thing, right? Like Ferrari. But like to actually be able to go and talk with, you know, people who drive these cars, who, you know, are F1 drivers, and be able to talk to them and work with them and say, hey, like, you know, what are we looking for? How do we want to make this work? What's the best way we want to showcase this? So, I mean, it was just, that was also another very big, unreal situation that you kind of, and the other thing too is that even when you get to those like moments, don't ever like let that like be like the tipping point of your, you know, career and what you're doing, you know, to collaborate, right? It's great to like stamp on your website.
There's Lamborghini, there's Maserati.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, and we've had opportunity to shoot, you know, Lamborghinis and Audis and stuff like that, but never the opportunity to get that phone call. But still in the process, right? So it's great to be part of that collaboration, but the sense of collaboration, and one of my mentors really broke it down in a sense and in a beautiful way as well. You know, you always want to make sure that everybody's winning at the end of the collaboration, whether there's a budget or not. And that's key, right? Like, hey, I want to collaborate this idea. It's going to take some time to put together, but I want to make sure that it benefits everybody in the sense, right? Let's make sure we have a pitch for this. Let's make sure that we do this right all together. If we're going to be putting some sweat equity into something like that, let's make sure that this also benefits everybody at the end of the day, and how it's going to benefit everybody once we're done with this project. But then obviously it's always great to say, hey man, like I got X budget to do this. I got X time to do this. We can make it happen in this time period and go from there. And then obviously like those collaborations are great, but also sweat equity ones can be beneficial if done properly and set to the right tones for everybody, is winning at the end of the day.
Yeah. Do you feel that there's not a lot of people that do a lot of that sweat equity these days? I mean,
yes and no. There are some talented creatives or talented visionaries that are still out there that are willing to do the sweat equity aspects just because of the fact that like it helps them grow. I feel that the most that I've grown at every collaboration, or out of any time that I've done collaboration, any time that I've done anything, especially during that process when I've failed, I've learned so much more as a person. You know, how do I handle stress? How do I handle, you know, all these different situations that are firing off if something is going wrong? How can I, you know, calculate to make sure that it's a better experience for everybody? But then also, you know, you're making such great connections and you're learning people's workflows as well in collaboration, as far as like, oh, I did not know this about my camera. So, I mean, you're even editing styles. Like I've learned so much from you and your team, just sitting over the shoulder and watching you guys edit, not in the sense of like, I want to use that for me, but in the sense of like, I didn't know Premiere did that. So, yeah.
For sure. Oh, Adobe.
Got to make the switch.
So it's a love-hate software, but that's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah.
For sure. Awesome. So I definitely agree with you, and I think collaboration can go many different ways. But man, like I think just being in community and working with community is just way more satisfying than just trying to do everything yourself. And I've made some great connections collaborating with people, and sometimes it doesn't really take much. It's like literally like, hey man, like, you know, I need some help on this, or I just need an extra hand or an extra eye. I don't got much right now, but man, I could really use help, and I'm at my wit's end. You know what? What do you need? Let's figure out. Let's do it. Let's get it done. And then before you know it, your name's on something, and somebody's like, "Who did this?" And they're like, "Oh, let me tell you." And they're like, "Man, we need something like that for us." And it's like, okay, and who do you work for? Oh, I work for a company called Ferrari. You know, and it's just like it really. I've made connections like that to where it's literally turned into, "Hey, how are you? What do you do? Cool, blah blah. Let's meet. All right, cool." By the way, so the company I work for, they're global or whatever. We're looking for local talent, and it's just like, how did this even happen? Oh, well, I was just in the right place at the right time, but I was available, and I was willing to just hear somebody out on what they needed. So yeah, for sure. Awesome. So, I do want to talk a little bit about, I guess, a little bit of strategy, because that's something that I hear a lot when people are first getting into a creative field. Is like, how the heck do I get clients? How do I get clients? How do I keep clients? And how do I get, once I do get a client, how do I get them to come back and use me for other things? For me, that was a big thing with photography, right? And so like when I became a professional photographer and said, I'm going to start charging for this, I then realized that there was a lot of other photographers in San Antonio, in Texas, and then the whole nation. I'm like, dude, this is wild. Like, how do I even compete with this? What do I charge? How do I get clients? And so over time, I really had to learn the hard way. I just tried stuff and they worked. I tried stuff and it didn't work. And basically what happened was I realized, and this was something that I had to tell myself, was I'm not going to make it doing just photography. Some people do, and that's amazing. That just wasn't me. And I couldn't make the cut, I guess. And also, like, you know, I'm getting a little older. And so like these 8-hour, 10-hour wedding days just weren't doing it for me. Like, I just couldn't do it. Some people, they have the energy, like yourself. I've seen you when you came in, you were doing backflips. Not me. Like, no, I think I rolled in. And so some people have the energy, which is great. And they love what they do. Now, I love weddings, but sometimes I just physically can't do them. And so I stopped. Last year was my last year doing weddings. So what would you say is like some simple black and white strategy for a creative, let's just say a photographer, a videographer, coming in, just trying to get clients? You know, they got the gear, they got everything, they're ready to go, and they just want to land their first or maybe second or third client.
I'll kind of tell you how we started off, right? And maybe that can also answer a couple of questions for some people. Basically, we got unlucky, I guess you could say, because when we decided to really start Culture Shock TV, Bryce and I've never really held a camera. Like I said, I come from a world of acting and singing and dancing and all that. And he comes from cinematography. So basically we partnered up and we're just like, hey, dude, I know how to hold a camera. I can teach you how to be on camera. Let's do this. And we started off with Culture Shock TV, showcasing like what you can do in certain areas, food, all this other stuff. But then literally we only did that for a year and then COVID happened. But in this sense, what we ended up doing is that we came up with the idea of like, hey man, like, why don't we reach out to restaurants and say, hey, like, we will take photos of your food. We will take, whatever it is that you want to leave on display, just leave it out. We'll show up, take photos, do this other stuff, no charge. We just want to help the community at this point. And basically what we did, it was just like, hey, like we got free food, which was great because, people weren't really working. So people got to eat, right? But it came down to the point of like, hey, like, well, we want to help, and everyone became a photographer. Everyone became a politician during COVID. So it was like, all right, which way do we want to go? But we definitely obviously picked the photography route. And even did video and everything like that, showcasing other companies. I mean, it was like after that, it was one thing after another. That was the fastest that I learned how to use a camera, just because it was like constantly going and constantly things were happening. Even like real estate was kind of at a fault. And, realtors were like, I don't know how to take photos. I don't know how to do this. Yeah. So, we say, hey, leave the door open. We'll come in. We'll do what we need to do. We'll clean up and we'll be right out. And thankfully, because of that opportunity with, I guess, COVID, to showcase like, hey, then it became, oh, hey, we know so-and-so. Hey, we know Drew and Bryce. Hey, they've helped us on this. They helped us with this. And then even starting off, like, we didn't know our budget. We didn't know what we were worth. It was just like, oh, like somebody emailed us. Oh, I got a DM in my Instagram based off of like a post, and because of that, then we started learning like, okay, it's not that you are a photographer. It's not that you are a videographer or cinematographer. It's that people see your work and that's what they want from that. And I've from working with clients and working with, people, I'm starting to realize that like they're hiring you not just because you're capable of doing it, right? They're hiring you because of your work. They're hiring you based off of your editing style and your process. So that's what we also had to learn throughout this whole endeavor of starting off with getting clients. So that was one way of how we were able to get clients. But other things that I've learned as far as like figuring out like budgets or starting to figure out like, hey, this is how I can work this out with other clients is reach out to them and say, hey, I want to work with you. I've always wanted to do X, or I want the opportunity, whatever. Don't pay me. But if you do a marketing plan with this, give me a percentage. Give me a percentage of this tool, and then we can work out from there after that. Yeah. So that's what we did a couple of times, starting off, just saying, hey, like, I don't know if what I'm going to do for you is going to be good or not, because I don't know what I'm doing. Maybe. But also, if you're just trying to look for clients at this point and you have been doing photography and you're not showcasing your work, also make sure to showcase your work. Just at all times. Doesn't matter. Like, just get it posted, get it out. That way people know you're out there. That's the other thing. Like, randomly I'll get DMs in the sense of like, oh, we found your hashtag videographer. What's up? Videographer in San Antonio or photographer in San Antonio, just based off of a hashtag. So, it's simple things like that, which can go way more in depth. But I mean, those are some ways that you can get clients and stuff. So,
for sure, yeah, no, I definitely agree. I know, man, COVID was rough for people just if they were just starting. So, like for myself, I basically from like 2011, something like that, started doing photography, and obviously like did it for a while. Maybe like 5 or 6 years into that journey, I started doing it full time. But I did construction and photography for like 6 years.
I remember you telling me.
And so finally, yeah, finally I just started doing photography. So for like the past, like before COVID, it was a good solid like 4 years doing it full time. And at that time I started getting to video. And I'm so glad I did because COVID happened, and of course no one could have predicted that. And so I had this, another line of what I could offer. And it was crazy because in 2019, I started the agency. Wasn't doing much with it. It was still mainly photography. But I remember I had this nonprofit that said, "Hey, do you know anybody who does a website? We need a website. We need this. We need that." I don't know why, but I just said, "Oh yeah, I can do that." And I had made my own website, like on Wix and things like that. And I was thinking, maybe I can get by with that. And so I told them, and they're like, "Oh, I thought you just did photography." And I was like, "Oh no, we do this, we do that, we do that," because these were some of the aspirations that I wanted to do. Yeah. And I was like, "This is it. This is my only chance to just do it. I got to start it. I got to do it." And luckily enough, my awesome cousin Robbie, which just had graduated with his degree in advertising and marketing. And I was like, "Hey, I know you're looking to get into like real stuff, real life stuff. I have this." So literally after that meeting with that nonprofit, I went straight to the courthouse and I got my DBA for my agency. Oh, wow. And we started to get to work right away and made some renders and all this. And of course we got the contract, and that's why I opened up my agency, because I opened my big mouth. And so, and it was the best. It was the best thing I could have ever done for myself, because I had to believe myself, and I believed that I could do it without knowing if I actually could. And it worked out. Of course, I didn't go in so blind. Like, I had some things prepared, and I was like, well, the website I can do, photography for sure I can do, video for sure. The only thing that I wasn't really strong at was like copywriting, right? And I come from the construction world, and so I knew that in the construction world, the general contractor, all they do is hire subcontractors, right? And so that's what I did. And I had some people help me, and we did it as a collaboration, and we made it work. But when COVID happened, it was a little crazy, because that's when I really, truly was going to launch my agency, looking for interns, looking for people to join the company. And then, I think I put a video out in like January or February of 2020. Hey, we're looking for interns and this and that. And then COVID happened. And somehow, some way, we made it through COVID. Restaurants, they hired us because they needed to let people know on how they're running business and things like that. And believe it or not, I picked up a really weird, kind of unorthodox gig. I was live streaming funerals during COVID, because a lot of places where you gather said you can't gather anymore. And funerals were this thing where, people were like, "What do you mean I can't go? Like, this is my loved one, Yeah. And it was really hard. So the funeral halls, some of them started doing live streaming for people who couldn't make it. And then they wanted to up that quality. And so somehow my name got through into somebody, and I was live streaming funerals, which it was a little hard because that's something that I wasn't used to, but it's a way, funerals are a business, right? And it's a very big business. And it was just a way that, they had a need and I had a need, and it worked. And so it was a weird way, but hey, it was still something to do during the pandemic, and we got through it. We got through it somehow, some way. But for sure, yeah. Well, those are great. I know that for a photographer, for all the photographers out there, for me, getting clients was hard and easy. My first clients, your first clients are always going to be your friends, family, things like that, paid or not paid. They're going to be your friends and family. And so at my church, I started doing all the family's photos for everybody there, and then other churches. And then before I know it, I was just like the photographer for all the church people's families. And it worked out really good. I got a lot of practice in. For the most part, they were nice, and they were patient with me. And so like the best way that I got clients was just word of mouth, and people were I was so consistent. And in between the family shoots, I was doing like model shoots and stuff like that, just to put the post to work. Like you said, you just have to post and post and post and let people know that you're available when you're creating. So Well, cool. Well, thank you for some of that strategy, because it is something that a lot of people talk about. And of course, there's a lot more that goes into it. I think we've kind of just brushed a little bit of the surface.
Yeah.
There's a lot of other intricate things that can go into it. But for sure, you can DM Drew or DM me, and we'll do the best we can to help you with some of those things. Cool. We just discussed a little bit of strategy. So what would you say, how important is it to, I guess, we work in San Antonio, right? I know you do work outside San Antonio and things like that, but how important do you think it is for creatives to tap in or to, I guess, get the culture of San Antonio? Is that important? Like in the creative business, should we understand our culture, or should we kind of just do what we want, or do you think that we should actually really go along with the culture of San Antonio?
Man, that's such a brilliant question, honestly. I had to move away from San Antonio to understand San Antonio culture.
Gotcha.
And I traveled a lot. Like you grow up in it, right? You're just here. You grow up. It's a melting pot.
I get it.
You get involved in churches, you get involved in volunteering work, you start seeing faces, and everything you're just in it. It's just what it is, right?
Yeah.
But I had the opportunity, and I'm grateful for the opportunity that I got to travel and see the world in a sense and see culture.
Yeah.
And it did not till then, when I moved back, to understand and appreciate culture that San Antonio truly has to offer. I know that we're super behind, like we're behind as a culture.
Yeah.
But in true culture, San Antonio has one of the greatest standing of culture as it is, as a community, as we stand together. I got to listen in on a podcast, and I didn't know that basically when certain disasters happen, like natural disasters happen, that we're one of the one of the open arms people that just say, hey, come here. Yeah. We'll house people, we'll take in people. And
I think a lot of them go to Port SA. Is one of the big stops.
Yeah. So it's just we have Port SA, even Freeman Coliseum. A lot of these places open up their doors in the sense of just hey, everybody's welcome. We put everything else aside. We're good. And you see it even in Fiesta. Obviously there's other things like Mardi Gras and all the other things that people do is that, but there's just something true about San Antonio as far as its culture. Now, as far as being a videographer, photographer, a documenter, whatever you want to call yourself, I think that everybody who has been a photographer or videographer walks away with that tint of orange in their photography.
I've seen it a time or two.
There's this
done it a time or two.
There's this hue of orange that I have seen in most photography and videography from anybody in San Antonio, that just seems to be like a stamp or a staple that everybody just kind of has without even realizing it. I'm not sure who were the originators of that concept and color was.
I'm not gonna lie, it might have been me. I'm just kidding. No, my photos were too orange back in the day, and it just, I don't know why, it just looked like that. And it was because I used to use, before I used off-camera flash or flash at all, I was on natural light. I still do natural light, but I used to use reflectors. And so one side has the silver, and the other side has the gold. So I'm like, oh my gosh, it's a sunset, whatever. And so I would use that, but I would not really change the hue too much. And so the orange you see in the picture, in real life, is what I would just give. And it was bro, it was too orange, bro. It was orange. And then I was like, why didn't everybody tell me anything? Why didn't any of these clients say, hey, bro, I'm too orange, fix me. And so over time, I did fix it. And I think I fixed it too much because most of my photos are pretty cool now, and I don't know, urban, gritty, which I love. But I think that a lot of that has to be with converting from Canon to Sony, and so that's another conversation. What do you shoot, Drew? You shoot Canon, Sony, Nikon?
I shoot Sony.
Oh no, that's it. We gotta end this.
Gotta go. Cut it.
Wait, is this your camera?
It is. That is my camera in there.
What is this one?
That's the Sony A7. No. Sony. I have the R4 at home. That's the Sony 3. Yeah.
Ooh, this is a great camera. I have this one too. Anyway, sorry.
No, but But yeah, I mean, everyone's been guilty of the oversaturation when they first start out, and quantum's jumping in. Everybody's guilty of that, but at the same time, like, yeah, I do feel that culture does have a huge play into how we do document and how we do photography and videography. Yeah, the comments are hilarious. Some of them are seen. There's also a couple questions in there.
Sophia.
Yes. Sophia.
Brandon said the Sophia preset. No, I used that. Boom, 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 boom. Very cool. Very cool. You know what? Let's talk a little bit about, because it's something that I've helped create here at Geekdom, but some of these places and communities or hubs even to bring creatives together, I feel like there's a lot. And there's a lot that have been popping up literally in the past, like this year for sure, but in the past couple of months.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is? And I guess, I would love to shout out a few of them here, of course, because I think all of them I love and all of them I support, and they all do really great things. But what are some of the hubs or creative places that you have been to or that have helped you in your creative process? Even just to edit.
Yeah, no. So, I mean, obviously Geekdom was where it all kind of started for me. But then this was kind of like the start of hey, let's create other hubs. As I've said before, San Antonio is kind of behind on this concept and idea, unfortunately, but fortunately it is coming. And the beauty of it is that, I mean, I kind of knew about the concept when I was living in Los Angeles, based off of the YouTube centers that they had there. Yeah. So everyone's trying to basically create these mini YouTube studios, which is awesome. I know our buddy Tally just opened up one. I have not been there, unfortunately, yet, but I do want to go check it out. It looks amazing. My buddy Andres Yasu, who has Safe House, which you also know as well. That facility is really, really amazing, and it has a lot of potential in there. And just within that little hub at the Andes, there's 4 or 5 other creative centers that have So I mean, there's so many different. Thank you, Quantum. So I mean, there's so many other ones around town. I mean, even Alamo Studios has it. I'm trying to think of everything off the top of my head at the moment, but
we got the parish, everything around there. And there's some other ones. There's I think there's the black, was it Black Duck or Black Goose? It's one where you can rent out and you just show up and then you go into the studio. More of a studio.
The boxer that owns one, the UFC fighter, the boxer that owns the studio. It's on the east side. Yeah.
So there's a lot of opportunity. And so I guess what I'm getting at is when someone says there's nowhere where I can be creative, or there's nowhere
that's not true
in San Antonio that's creative. Dude, there is. And the thing about it is it's not other people, it's the creative, it's the person that's not really getting out there. And I get it. There's some people who are super introverts and things like that, which there's nothing wrong with. But I think that those people can still find a community and find those one-on-ones with somebody that are willing to help them and just do, be their community, even if it's just a one-on-one. But I mean, there's literally tons of places. We do a meetup once a month, so you can come to those, and we go to all these different hubs. And so if you want to try them out, come to one of our meetups, and you'll get to try a new place out, and just see if it's for you.
And that's the other beautiful thing too, is just there are facilities like this, and even if like I said, slide to somebody's DMs, straight up, go and say, hey, can I come in and just look over your shoulder? I edit side by side with a bunch of people, with Tally, Quantum, who's in here. I've edited with y'all, just to show up and just say, hey, I just want to learn. I just want to understand. I just want to be part of the process. Who do I talk to? As long as you're not I mean, there's a lot of pros and cons with it, but at the same time, just work with one another. That's the whole point. As we're saying about collaboration, and there's a lot of facilities here, and obviously it comes down to SEO and marketing when it comes to that. But just do some research. Just do some research.
Sure. Yeah, I'm here at Geekdom, where we have our office for SA Creative and for my agency, Summit Creative Group. But literally right next door is Symbio Hush in the Down Market. And we're literally right beside each other. And we work together all the time.
Yeah.
They see our projects, we see their projects. Like we just talk about things, and it has not messed anything up for our individual, journeys, but also journeys together. If anything, it's really like helped us.
Yeah.
And we've actually worked together and collaborated, together on jobs, and big jobs, small jobs, and this and that. So it's been really great. And so I think one day somebody should do a case study on us to say, like, to show that it works. Like, you can literally do the exact same things. What do you do? People come in, they do a tour. Like, what do you do? Oh, we have a creative agency. We do this right next door. What do you do? Oh, we're a creative agency. We do this, we do that. It's like, oh, that's what they do. You guys do the same thing. Yeah. So yeah, there's enough to go around, but also you can live next to each other literally and actually both learn from each other and grow together.
Absolutely.
So that's cool. I think should we take some questions, or
there was there was a question at the top that I saw.
Let's do that. We're gonna go to some of these questions, guys. So we appreciate you guys sticking around.
Reboot, sacrifice your beard and make it happen.
Oh gosh, I think a lot of these are for you, Drew.
No.
So yeah, if you go to the top, I think there are some questions that was asked like at the very top. So
there was at the very top.
Where do you see? Actually, we're gonna pause. We're gonna pause for our sponsor right now. Today's sponsor is Diet Coke, and so Diet Coke, they sponsor us. Diet Coke, they're just like Coke Zero, but not.
So one question that I'm seeing right here is, what advice would you give someone if they're thinking about getting into photography or digital arts?
Oh, that's a good one. What advice would you give that person?
Find yourself a mentor, first off.
Okay. I love that.
Yeah, find yourself a mentor. In all honesty, like I'm so grateful that I immediately surrounded myself with amazing people like yourself, and did not know like 100% what I was really, not doing. I mean, we all were there, in the sense of like, what is the triangle, ISO, aperture, all these other things that I'm trying to learn right off the bat. And it just, I didn't know how to properly hold a camera. Like, and that, even when I was filming a concert, and this is an embarrassing story. I was filming a concert. It was the first concert I ever filmed. I was there helping out a buddy, and I was like, you know what? I have a camera. I just want to learn. I just want to throw myself into the pit. And one of my oldest friends walks up to me and he goes, "Oh, Canon." And I was like, yeah. And he goes, "Oh, you should probably film in 60 FPS." And I was like, "What? What?" He's like, 60 FPS. And I just handed him the camera. I was like, I don't know. So he showed me, and I was just like, "Hey man, like I'm here just filming." And it was funny because even the guy who I was shadowing, I had the ISO bumped up to like, I don't know, well in the hundreds of thousands.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, just bump it all the way up. We'll be good, right? And he walked up and he was like, "Bro, no, we can't use this." And I was like, no, the ISO, right? You said adds more light. It just adds more light, right? It's fine. It's gonna look great. No, that was boo-boo. It was a lot of boo-boo. So I mean, get yourself a mentor. If you're first starting out, even look at, there's so many courses out there that you can find.
Yeah.
Find the person you trust, obviously, the most. I can name drop hundreds of people that I've followed throughout the years, that I've learned my style and gained my style from their style. It's
who are maybe two or three that you've looked up to over the years?
Oh man, Joshua and Peter McKinnon, of course. Like those go-tos, I'm just a huge Joshua fan, make art now. And obviously, Peter McKinnon is just an OG, obviously, but like his tutorial bases are actually really, really good in a sense of like quick edits. Yeah. Also, another favorite is that one blonde kid. It literally, that's who his tag. So that one blonde kid is great. But you guys, Down Market, another buddy of mine who, he's freelancing, and I call him every so often to get advice. Y'all have been such huge mentors to what I've done and accomplished as far as storytelling. So that's another big part of photography and videography. That's a whole nother topic and conversation. But y'all have been such a huge, huge blessing in my life starting out. So that's why I say, first off, start out with a mentor, start out with a group in a community that you can trust and gain trust from, and build it out from there.
I agree.
Yeah.
Cool. What else we got on here?
So I've done that before. Paris Quantum with the
Oh yeah, we have the Love Yourself creative studio. That's also
Absolutely.
at the Andy, I believe.
Yeah, no, definitely. Love Yourself creative studio, and get into them and learn as much as you can from those people. So
for sure. Yeah, if you guys have any other questions, please post them on there.
Yeah,
we'd love to hear from you.
No, absolutely. I have a question for you.
Okay, great.
What is the future of SA Creatives and your vision?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked. So honestly, I think our mission, our vision will stay the same. Mm-hmm. We do want to, help the creatives here in San Antonio. When I say creatives, it's not just photographers, not just models and videographers. People who write poetry, people who are musicians, who are dancers, who just love to create art, people who are bakers, who are carpenters, makers, just people who are just doing awesome stuff in San Antonio. And we want to support them, but we also want to give them a safe place to meet other creatives like themselves, and also give them the right tools to do that. And so we are starting our journey to be a 501c3 nonprofit, because one big thing that takes a lot of that help is budget, is money, is funds. We don't charge for anything. I think the only thing we've ever charged for, I've had like a small order of t-shirts maybe. But other than that, our meetups are free. Normally places that you have to go to pay for, like Wonder Chamber, Hopscotch, places like that. Yeah. We don't charge, we want to offer that free of charge, but we can do a lot more with money. Yeah. So we want to keep a lot of things, free and open to the community. And so being that 501c3 really opens up ways to get sponsorship and funding from all kinds of people, all kinds of organizations, and even the city for that matter. Yeah. And some of like the bigger, larger goals is to create a community fund to where we can actually help creatives who need a boost for their business. And so we do want to eventually have that to where there's a fund that people can do somewhat of a pitch competition for, and they can get a check at the end of it, and it can help them get their start or whatever they need, if they need that extra boost. But there's also a lot of programming we want to help. So with running, or being a creative and wanting to do it for money, you create a business, and I think a lot of creatives don't think that there's a lot that goes into that, but you have to start getting out of accepting just Cash App, and then also not doing contracts, or like eventually you have to start learning these things if you want to continue or grow larger or scale. Now I get it. You don't have to do that. I did that for a good 9 or 8 years, which I was just doing, whatever, pay me however, I'm going to track things however. But of course, as you grow a little bit, you have to start getting more organized if you want to, last. And so we do want to create some of those programs to help, these creatives in business. Do you need an LOC? Do you need a DBA? What is an NDA? Do you need that? Should you tell people your ideas? Yeah. How is it still your intellectual property, or how is it not, or all these things? If you have a business partner, how do you put that on paper, and taxes, and there's so much stuff that goes into it. That actually is not complicated, but you just have to have somewhere where somebody can help you and teach you.
100%.
So we want to create those programs as well. So there's a lot that we want to do, but we still want to be that cool, hip group that people just love to go to meetups. Yeah. And just meet other creatives. And so we want to keep that at the core and keep on doing that. We have some cool opportunities next year to do some big stuff and some fun stuff. So we'll be posting a lot of that pretty soon. But as far as the goals go, they're staying the same. We just want to do more of it, basically. So
absolutely, I love what Jay Sundown said: is process, people, performance. That's key.
Oh yeah,
that's good.
Yeah, I met that guy once. He's pretty cool.
I don't know who that is.
Yeah.
I just go to his page and it's the Darth Vader guy.
Yeah,
So.
I know when I did meet him, he had his back turned towards me, and so I didn't get to see his face.
Get a good look?
But I've heard great things about him. He's almost like a myth, I think.
Probably.
It's I don't even know if the guy I saw was like the guy that's Jake Sundown. So
AI generated
I
art.
don't know. I'll never know, I guess. But I think there's beauty in that too. So
Absolutely.
100%. I respect him. Whoever you are out there, Jay Sundown, we love you. Let's see. Any other questions we have here?
I don't see any other questions, but if there are some, I mean, I'm more than happy to on any.
Yeah.
Not great.
Okay.
He's right.
For sure. Definitely a villain. He's the villain of San Antonio. So I love it. I love that. Oh, see, look, he loves us too.
Oh, he loves you. Yeah.
That's great. I love that. That's cool. And of course, if you guys, love the podcast, I'm going to try to do one maybe every other week, if not one a month for sure, to go along with our meetups.
Yeah.
If you guys have suggestions too, I'll probably keep this up on a post so people can watch back and then also put some more comments. But yeah, give us some suggestions on what you'd like to see in the future. And they won't always be this format where like it's an IG live. They'll be, we have cameras and lights and we produce podcasts for other companies. And so we have everything to do an actual podcast. And truth be told, yesterday, Drew, he was actually working out of my office, just getting some work done. And I was like, you know what? I went out of town this month for Thanksgiving and it was a busy month. So we honestly, we didn't really plan a meetup. And I felt really bad because we haven't done that in a while. And so I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do like an IG live tomorrow. Hey, Drew, you want to be on my live? And he was like, sure. So when I got home, I was like, you know what? I've been wanting to launch this podcast. I'm just going to launch it. Tomorrow's going to be the podcast, the first episode. Let's do it. And so here we are. And I think sometimes that's what it takes to kind of get our butt in gear. And so that's what I did, and kind of back when I said, yeah, I do a website. Yeah, I do this. Yeah, I do that. Sometimes you just have to do it, like that Shia LaBeouf GIF. You're going to just do it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of truth in that. Sometimes you just have to do it. But I think we're the hardest critics on ourselves, and we give ourselves 10 to 100 excuses on why we shouldn't do it.
And honestly, as I was saying before, man, like this is just an amazing opportunity for me to be here, but an amazing opportunity for yourself. I, again, am just honored to be part of this process. And now I get to hold you accountable to continue this process and continue going.
I need that.
Yeah, it's gonna be a great journey for yourself. I can't wait to hear all the other stories that come from this. I can't wait to hear everybody else who gets to follow along with this and hear all the amazing people that are going to be smarter and greater than myself, that are going to share amazing knowledge on here. So again, I am so thankful for this opportunity. You are one of the forerunners of the city when it comes to, helping others, really believe in themselves. You've been there for me. I've been through some trial times as well. And, I've just come here, just walking the hallways and just saying, hey, like, I just need somebody or something. And you've been there. And that's the other thing about community, is get yourself into community. Like we're all, as you said, a lot of creatives are introverts. I am an extrovert myself. Just given my past.
Really?
Yeah, no.
I never was.
Not the guy showing up doing backflips. But that is just who I am, and I throw myself into the fire. But I know that a lot of creatives themselves tend to want to stick to themselves and be at home and close the blinds and be in the dark. That way the light just looks better on the monitor. But we do that everywhere. But we need to, as a community, be able to reach out to one another and not have that shame in a sense of I don't know. I want to know more. So just that's where we need to be. As a community. So I appreciate the time being here. I look forward to this future endeavor for you, and yeah, man. And I again. Any other questions? I'm totally down. So
yeah, Yeah, okay, so I also believe that everybody needs a meditating Sasquatch in their life. So it's just, dude, just look at them. Just chill, man.
It's honestly like a beast at calm. So that's what makes that like so amazing.
Yeah.
Because you know that is like destruction in itself, but the fact that it's just like chill, like that's honestly
Yeah.
like beauty in itself.
So my daughter got this for me because she says it reminds her of me because he's a big hairy dude, but also that he can be so calm and be a big hairy dude. And I'm like, oh, thank you.
Yeah.
That means a lot. So yeah, that's why I have my little. I have him next to my thing to always remember. Just be calm. Be calm.
Be calm.
It's gonna be okay. We're gonna get through it. You're gonna recover that footage that is corrupted. You're gonna get it back. I promise. So cool. Well, I think we're gonna sign off. I'm gonna actually go check out here. I think there's somebody out here I wanted to say bye to in person. So, yeah, I'm just gonna walk over here. So, hey, what's oh, we're gonna turn it off. So actually, yeah, you can buy in yours.
Oh, in mine.
Oh man, your lighting looks good. So yeah, we're here. So thank you, Drew, for being here. Thank you for being awesome. Thank you for being you.
Appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much for
True
everything.
Drew. All right. Well, I guess we're gonna sign off. I'm gonna do the old guy stuff, and I don't know how to do it. So is it right here?
Just
is it right here?
I guess so,
I don't know. How do I do that?